Hey everybody, real quick, before we get into the Season 3 recap, if you need a Season 2 recap, just hit the tab in the upper right-hand corner. It'll take you to it. Now, in Season 3, the Pogues are having a grand old time on an island. They're actually surviving pretty well. That doesn't mean, though, that they don't want to get off. And when a plane flies by, they jump at the opportunity to get its attention, lighting a fire and hoping to God that the plane sees it. Luckily for them, it does. The plane lands, and right away, Sarah is pretty suspicious of this thing. Ever since what happened with her dad, she thinks that everybody is out to find her with the backing of Ward. So she's pretty suspicious. But it is their only option off this remote island, so they have to take it. When they're in the air, though, they are still suspicious of this guy. JJ catches the pilot, Jimmy, in a lie about what he was doing in the area. So they start snooping around the plane, trying to find any hint of the fact that it was Ward who sent him. John B. is doing his best to distract the pilot the whole time so that he's not onto him. And when they see a postcard of the boat that Ward was on, the one that was carrying the cross, that big tanker, they know that it was, in fact, Ward who sent this guy. The problem is they're high up in a plane. They can't exactly land right there. They have to wait until they do land to safely get away from him. They figure that at 6-on-1, it shouldn't be too hard. But when Jimmy the pilot looks behind them and sees that they're stealing from him, he starts fighting them off. It causes the plane to do a nosedive, and while he's able to steady the plane, he doesn't steady it enough to avoid a crash landing in Barbados. Everybody is fine, although Jimmy is a little bit knocked out. When the Pogues look on shore, they see that the police are arriving pretty quickly. They know that they need to get out of this boat immediately and get to as far away from the police as possible. But Key isn't about to let Jimmy drown. So she frees him, dragging his body out of the plane and dragging it to shore. The issue is her friends had gone the complete opposite direction. They didn't go on shore, they were hiding under a pier. So they're watching Key go to shore and save this guy, but also they're watching her get arrested. Key's not too happy about getting caught by the police. She looks at Jimmy and says, "I can't believe this. I saved your life. Who are you? Was it Ward who sent you?" And Jimmy says, "What? No, look, just do what they ask and you probably won't get hurt." Key is then taken away by the police and the Pogues just have to sit there and watch it. They know that they can't jump into action right away. They're going to get caught, and they can't free Key if they're caught by the police as well. The Pogues get to safety and they start formulating a plan on how to save Key. They have no idea where she is, where she was taken. Their only clue is what JJ found in Jimmy's wallet. JJ wasn't about to go through somebody's belongings and not pinch their stuff. So he was able to grab the guy's wallet, and he does have an address for the guy. He figures that that's probably where Key was taken. They head over to Jimmy's house, and Jimmy's not there, and more importantly, neither is Key. But what they do find is very interesting. It's a painting of the San Jose sinking. The San Jose was from Denmark's diary. It was the ship that the cross was stolen from. They know that this isn't a coincidence. The fact that this guy just has a painting of the ship that Denmark Tanny was writing about means that Jimmy's definitely a treasure guy. But they don't have too much time to discuss it because Jimmy comes home. They're able to ambush him and hold him at knife point and have him answer some questions. And the main question that Sarah has is, was it Ward who sent? But just like with Key, Jimmy looks at her and says, "What are you talking about?" Because the fact is, no, it wasn't Ward who sent him. He's never heard of Ward. He has no idea who Ward is. A guy named Carlos Singh sent Jimmy. And he basically runs Barbados. Jimmy also goes on to tell them that Carlos has eyes all over the island out there looking for them. They start looking through Jimmy's bag and they find the payoff for Kiara. It's quite a bit of money. And they also find a location for Carlos Singh. But Jimmy warns them, you really don't want to go there. But Jimmy's warning gives off a tip that that's probably where Key is. And it is, in fact, where Key was taken. She gets there and she's very confused on who has her, what they want with her, what they're doing. She's brought up to this huge house that is heavily guarded. And when she gets inside, she looks around and sees that it has a bunch of artifacts in it. Ones that you'd probably find in the Indiana Jones gift shop in Disney World, although these things are the real thing. The security doesn't tell Key anything. They just lock her in a room and tell her to get ready for dinner, which is going to be at 8 p.m. And in the room, there's 3 dresses, and it says, pick your size. So at the very least, Key's going to get a free dress out of this thing. But it's not just going to be Key and Carlos at this dinner alone. They're going to be joined by Rafe. Ward is still on the mend in Guadalupe, completely knocked out, and definitely not able to do business. Rafe has taken it upon himself to take over the family business in Ward's absence. That includes selling off the cross. That's something that Rafe wants to do as quickly as possible. He meets with an appraisal guy, and the guy confirms that it is in fact the real thing, and he has a buyer in Barbados. Rafe doesn't ask too many questions, he just agrees to meet with him. So Rafe takes his boat down to Barbados to meet with Carlos Singh. This is quite a surprise for Key, because when Key enters the room, she's not expecting to see Rafe, and Rafe certainly isn't expecting to see Key. After the initial shock of, well, what the hell are you doing here, Carlos makes his appearance and lets them know why he's brought both of them to this dinner. He tells them a story that 450 years ago, a Spanish soldier came out of the Orinoco Basin with a few gold beads. When they asked the Spanish soldier where the beads came from, the Spanish soldier replied that he got them from a peaceful indigenous tribe. And this indigenous tribe lived in a city of gold, El Dorado. For the next 450 years, people tried to find the gold, but they came up short. Now he's taken it upon himself to find that city of gold. And the reason he's brought Key and Rafe together is because he figures they will play a huge part in him completing this quest. That's because he believes that Key and her friends are in possession of something that can help him finish this quest. It's a diary. More specifically, it's the diary of Denmark Tanny. He incorrectly thinks that Key and Rafe are friends because they're from the same area. He has no idea how much bad blood is actually between the two. They both tell him that they have no idea what he's talking about, but he doesn't believe them. One of the reasons why is because Rafe has the cross. He's trying to sell it. And Carlos doesn't think that anybody that would be able to find the cross wouldn't have access to the diary. He thinks one is a necessity of the other. Neither Key or Rafe give Carlos any information on how they obtained the cross. But Carlos just does not believe that they don't know anything about this diary. He tells both of them, once I have the diary, you're free to leave. In the meantime, you can enjoy the grounds during your stay, but I'm going to warn you, I'm not a man of infinite patience. You have one day, and if you want to see what I'm made of, go to the window to see a demonstration. Carlos then locks them in the room, and Key heads to the window to see what Carlos was talking about. She sees Jimmy dragged up because somebody on the island saw Jimmy talking to the Pogues, and they ratted him out. She then sees Carlos with a gun follow Jimmy, and while she doesn't see Jimmy get shot, she hears a gunshot. She can figure out the rest. It's at this point that Rafe and Key get very concerned. Rafe looks at Key and says, I need you to be honest with me right now. Do you have this diary? And Key says, no. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.